Hello. I will be introducing you today to how we are getting access to our material on the web for the class. And the easiest way to do this is to pop up Google and to search for GitHub Cloud Mesh classes. You will be retrieving some links now, and the first one is hopefully the classes website, so you can go in here. And there's a link here that you see that we are getting into, and here we are directly in our website. You can find this website also through other means, such as, for example, the links in Canvas or the links in Piazza. But that is a different topic for another time. So one of the things is that we have done is we have published all the content, or we will be publishing all the content for the class here on this website. And it is fairly nice organized and simple organized. You see various classes that have been given at various times. And i523 is here given here in various years. So let's click at the year 2017. That's our current class. And we are presented with a table of content that includes a small syllabus for the class. The first part is the organization, a writing track, a theory track, and a practice track. The syllabus will be updated throughout the semester with new information and new sections that will be added to it as they become more complete. One thing to notice is that the numbers here are somewhat arbitrary, so please do not use the numbers in communicating with us or putting them into Piazza for questions. I have a question about section 1.1. That will not work. You should say, I have a question about organization preface, and if you want to have a very precise link, you just go to preface and you see here the URL, and it's always a good practice to include the URL. So let's go through the organization of the class. We try to improve the web page with your input and put most of the information in here. And let's start what the class is about and how we organize it. So first we have a preface section. We have a short introduction about the course. We have information about the calendar and the registrar. We have information of Piazza, how we can contribute, what our deliverables in terms of a term paper and project is, what the grading policies are, what the assignments are that are popping up here. How do we interface with Git, which is not yet set up in the first weeks, and how do we do the organization of the class. So let me just quickly go through the preface. So the preface, we have first the contact, that is me, but please don't contact me via email, just send email via Piazza. We have contributors. There's a whole bunch of contributors to this web page that you can look up. There are more than 60 people that have contributed to this web page so far. Conventions are being also placed. The security is only important for those that are working as residential students, so please review this. It's important to note that this website, as well as the class material, is being updated throughout the semester. It will be in your responsibility to identify what has been updated, but there's also a convenient change log available, and the change log you can find if you go to the classes website, and there's a change log here that says what has actually changed between our last releases, and here you can see in fairly great detail about what has been done since our last release for this web page. So if you, for example, want to know what's new and what changed and what other things have happened on the website, feel free to go to the changelog. We have multiple instructors for the class. My name is Gregor von Laschewski. You find information about me here. Jeffrey Fox has created most of the theory sections, so you find information about here. And then we have already information about the teaching assistants that are being assigned to this class. Please do not contact them all individually. Instead, please just send mail via Piazza. One important thing is we have an academic integrity policy. We appreciate if you are really honest in your approach to taking this class and don't cheat yourself out of your learning capabilities. Let us look at some other of the sections that we have on this web page. We just introduced you to the preface and worked on the academic integrity policy. The course is about big data applications and analytics, and we provide an overview into data science and cover applications and technologies that are needed in order to process the applications and their data. So let us take a little bit closer look at our formal course information. One of the things is students have to prepare a notebook. This will probably start in week 3 of the class, where you will be able to use GitHub to record what you have actually done in this class so that we can see your progress. We are posting here a calendar with the important dates that we have. We point out that it is unwise to get an incomplete, and in order for you to make sure that you complete the class in time, we are also introducing some grade reductions that you can read up upon here. In case you were to have an incomplete, it will take us some time, up to 2 months after you have handed in your project or your papers. In case you complete your project within a break, we may not be able to grade your project because we have to do this during the regular semester hours. So please plan ahead and make sure that you are not getting an incomplete. Registration information is available through the registrar. Please note that we have combined all residential classes to Friday in this particular room here. The online students will have a special online session that we will be announcing. There is a potential wait list. There is some information about what to do when you are on the wait list. There's also information provided for you. This is what to do in case you want to audit the class. Meeting times for the residential class, as I said, have already changed. They are now only at this particular time. The other meetings will not take place. Office hours for residential students are the Friday hours and upon appointment. Online students will have multiple online hours that we will be announcing and gathering with your input. One of the other more important things to notice is that this class is using Piazza to communicate. And there's a particular way on how you enroll into Piazza. We have documented the situations that you can run into here in this web page. And we believe that most students have successfully enrolled in the class. So please make sure that you're on Piazza, because all announcements will be done on Piazza. We will not be using Canvas discussion groups, nor any other feature of Canvas. we will be doing everything through Piazza. The reason we do this is because we curate the answers that are being provided or questions that are being asked by students in such a form that you can just look through the answer section and don't have to go through a gazillion of emails and to find an answer to a problem. And I will be providing you with a practical Piazza session to explain what's going on. One important thing is that in Piazza we have certain folders, and I will also go into this in the Piazza lesson. Each section may have exercises. It doesn't mean that you have to do these exercises. These are things that have been quite useful for others. But in case we have assignments, we will clearly mark them as an assignment. To find that out, we can see here, for example, the assignment section. You can also contribute to our web page. We will be improving this particular section so that it's more inclusive and has more information about how do you easily contribute to our web page. One of the homework is to, for example, find a single spelling error and try to see if you can contribute to our web page. There will be a term paper and a project. Important to note is that you can do this term paper or project as a team. However, we recommend that you choose your team wisely. Don't choose a team member that doesn't have any time, or you cannot communicate with them because they may be on a different schedule, or they have background that you may not want to have as part in your project. So if you're a team, make sure that you choose your teammates wisely. If you come to us a week before the semester ends and say, well, this student hasn't participated in our project, that is way too late to do any corrective action. So please be advised that you monitor your team, and if someone is not performing, you need to be reminding them about performing. Because if you have 3 team members, your project is going to be created for 3 team members and not for 1 team member or 2 team members, and one is not doing anything. One important thing is that you can also choose the term project or a term paper. Both of them have common deliverables. If you have, for example, a team, you have to provide a section in the appendix that's a work breakdown that explains who has done what. You have to provide a bibliography in JabRef. There is no exception possible to this rule. And you have to use a particular report format. We will review any paper that does not have these requirements included without any review. As part of the software project, you can use multiple systems or one system. This includes Chameleon Cloud, some cloud on future systems, AWS, Azure, VirtualBox, or other clouds. If it's AWS, Azure, or other clouds, you're responsible for your own charges. On Chameleon Cloud we have a small allocation, so we will be getting into how much you can use Chameleon Cloud to do this project later on in the semester, and provide guidelines and policies for this. As part of the deliverables, in case you do a project, you need to be doing the code. It must be checked in and into GitHub, and it must be containing a make file or a shell script in which you allow us as instructors to rerun your project. There must be data allocated with your project. However, GitHub does not allow too much data to be checked in, so you need to be making sure you only put very small amount of data there. Any bigger data needs to be put into a URL, and your project needs to be downloading it. As part of the project, you need to write a report. Depending on how many students you have a different page requirement, essentially 6 pages minimum with 2 pages per additional student. If you were to choose the term paper, you don't have to do any program, but your page requirement is slightly increased. The maximum grade that you would be able to get for the entire course if you were to choose the term paper is an A-. Grading is relatively moderately done in our class because we would like that you focus on experiments rather than on doing simple homework assignments. And therefore we have only 3 grades assigned within this class: paper 1, paper 2, the term paper or the project, and some participation as part of the discussions or through additions to our web page. We will give some discussion points out, and the TAs will be noting them down, and that will be giving you participation. We also appreciate if you participate in the online meetings or in the residential meetings. In order for you to achieve your best, we have noticed that we find that residential students that take part in our meetings on Fridays do typically better than those that don't. Therefore, this semester we make these meetings mandatory. The assignments are simply listed in the assignments section. As you can see, we have here started putting some assignments. Ideally, the assignments are being augmented with not released yet, in case we are drafting the assignment and have not yet released them. Other weeks may have already been completed and you can conduct the assignments. And there are links provided to the assignments, so you can click on them and you will be going into the assignment. And one of the assignments was enrolling in Piazza. It's Piazza number 1. And so it's very easy to find our assignments, and we will give you also a hint on how to find them on Piazza. The most important thing that you may be interested in is how our class is organized. This is an online class that requires some discipline on your side, because you have to schedule yourself some of the lectures that you're listening to and when you're doing the assignments. And one of the biggest problems we see is that because we are so flexible, some students cannot handle this flexibility easily, because they say, well, this week I don't have time, let me do this next week. Next week they say, oh, this week I still don't have any time, let me do this next week, and so forth and so forth. And if they reach then week number 15 and realize that the project is due in week number 16, or even in week number 12, I believe, and then they get in panic, and rightly so, because they will fail the class. So what we would like you to do is to first establish a calendar for yourself with spots for time that you can actually do this particular class, and set enough time aside for doing the class. How much time you need is difficult for us to assess, because every student is different. We have seen students that spend maybe 3 hours per week on the class lectures, and maybe another couple of hours on the project. But we have also seen other students that spend 20 hours on this class. So it's up to you to identify what works for you. And because the project is somewhat flexible, you can determine how much you are putting into the class. The more you put into the class, the more you get out. In the first week, we need to communicate with you, so we ask you to enroll in Piazza, get the GitHub account, see what the web page is, and register. We also ask you to enroll in several services such as Future Systems and Chameleon Cloud. Also, you have the option to do some IoT projects, and for that you could be choosing a Raspberry Pi and or an ESP8266. The ESP8266 costs typically $7. The Raspberry Pi is somewhat, with all the plugins and adapters, about $50. And if you want to have sensors, you could be spending some more money on this. The sensors could be expensive depending on what kind of sensor you get. We also recommend that you look into your hardware, such as the laptop or the desktop that you're using to interface with the class, so that you can do all the assignments. We have 3 tracks: practice, theory, and writing. The theory are the theory lectures that are mostly given by Jeffrey. Practice is mostly given by me, where you are being introduced into Python. And we have started to convert some of the videos in pure lecture notes, which is more convenient for us to manage, and in case we have additions or modifications, we don't have to reshoot the video. So the practice may just be paper versions. Then we have a writing activity where you will be assigned a topic from the theory, actually 2 topics, and you need to write a 2-page paper. If you're in groups, again, you can work up to 3 people. You have to write 2 pages per person. We recommend that you start this activity in parallel, because you can learn Python already now without us giving a lot of detail. There are enough tutorials and self-study materials on Python. However, we have a very detailed list of features of Python in our class that is already being published to you. We have a section about IoT. That's actually quite interesting, because it interfaces very nicely with the ESP8266. This is quite unique because it's really easy to use. And then we give you an introduction to Python for big data, so that you can apply your knowledge of Python to manipulating big data. As said, you have the option to do a term paper with project and a term paper without project, and the maximum grades are being defined based on what you do. And for the papers and project, we like to point out that we post them all online through GitHub, and in order to avoid plagiarism, we try to make the projects somewhat unique. So when we are going back to our class, we will at one point in future going in much more detail into the writing track. We will not do this today. And in another lecture we will go to the theory track, but as you can see, we have an introduction, we provide an overview of data science, we give you some use case studies, and go through a number of use cases as part of the class, and discuss these particular application in more detail. In the practice track, and this practice track here is still very incomplete, we add lectures that we find will be useful for you in preparation for your project. Everything we do here in this class is in preparation for the project, including the theory track, from which you have to pick 2 papers, write 2 papers from 2 different topics, and their preparation for your final report. Additional content from previous material may be found in draft lessons that we will integrate into the table of contents of syllabus. With this, I have given you a pretty solid overview about how the web page is organized, and I encourage you to browse the web page so that you can make sure that you know where things are and you can find them fairly easily. Just as a reminder, you get sub-sections introduced, and the content is fairly detailed, so you can go through and go in each one of these subsections, for example this particular section, and find which videos have been released. When you see these subsections you that are in blue, these are not yet released videos or slides, so please don't look at them yet. We will be updating them in time. The other sections don't have the blue frame around, so these are sections that can already be viewed. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope you enjoy the class. It's a pleasure to have you here, and we are all excited to make sure you can achieve your best. Thank you.